All right, well, I think that being the case, this is the time now to hand over to Aldwyn. So Aldwyn is known as the media queen. I know some people know Aldwyn here, and for others she's brand new. So for those that she's brand new, you're in for an experience. She talks fast. She is a she is a journalist, and she's got that sense of sort of go about her. And having spent, Aldwyn and I have known each other for a number of years now. I'm not going to say how many years because that would make both of us feel older than we really would like to. But she, I have to say, she really knows her stuff, and I spent sort of half a day with her last week, and really amazing. So had a great time, but the level of skill and detail she's got, and the way that she can sort of pull out stories and what she knows about the industry is really tremendous. So it's a real pleasure tonight to have Aldwyn presenting to us on how to get this free publicity. So,
fantastic. Thank you so much, Nick. I really appreciate that lovely introduction. Can everyone hear me okay? Just, yes, excellent. Now, what I'd love to do before we start is actually get a photo of all of you. Is that okay? We get a photo for social media. I know this is a really unusual way to start. However, because we're in the world of, social distancing, I would love to see your faces. So anyone who hasn't got their video showing, I would love to see you. Hopefully you're not naked there. But if you are naked, we'll only see the top half. So that's okay. So if you would like to show your face, if you're ready to step up and be seen in social media, I would love to share this to all my people. So I'll give you a few moments to do that. This is the new way of doing a selfie photo, right?
Oh, look at that. We've got a dog on too.
Oh, we've got a dog. Yay. Hello, dog. Lovely. How cute. Gorgeous. All right. So anyone who would like to show their face, who's not a dentist, anyone who'd like to show your face, we've got Peter, Lorena's on twice, is she? Lorena, Nigel, Fernando, Geraldine. If you would like to show your face, I'll just give you few seconds if you want to do that. If not, we'll get your name on there anyway. Okay, and then what we'll do is now, Christine, we can't see your face there. Are you able to get some light on your face or turn around to face the light? Now, this is really important to think of. If you're going to be doing a lot of online meetings, you want to be thinking about being able to be seen, which we'll be talking about getting free publicity today. So ideally, you want to have light on your face. And I actually have a home studio set up here with some lights actually on my face at the moment, so that we can see you clearly. All right. Okay, here we go. So this is how I'm going to do it. I've got my little camera here, and what I'd love you to do is, hello, Angela, thanks for joining us. Just look at your webcam, okay? Wherever you are, look at your webcam and then smile. Okay, you ready? All right, 1, 2, 3, and then one more for good measure. Okay, cheers. Yay, thank you very much. Thank you for indulging with me. That was fun, wasn't it? Okay, now I'm going to share my screen. All right, share screen here. Hopefully you'll all be able to see it in a moment. All right, can you see that?
Oh, looks good.
It looks good. Okay, beautiful. And we'll put it into slideshow. So this one slide. Where's our slideshow? Oh, down here. There we go. Okay, now we're full screen. Can everybody see that okay? Excellent. Now, if we have time at the end, Nick, we can do some Q&A, hopefully, if we have some time.
Yes, indeed.
We do? Okay, wonderful. All right. So if you have any questions as we're going, please pop them into the chat and we'll get to that at the end. Thank you so much, Nick, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. Especially big hello to those I don't know, and great to see some familiar faces as well. Thank you so much for joining me. The topic today, of course, is how to gain free publicity during COVID-19, and we are certainly in some interesting times right now. And I would say, a lot of people I've been speaking to, normally they say, the media is so negative in general. However, lately it's just been insanely negative with this COVID-19 business. And, I always encourage people to question what they're hearing in the mainstream media. Now, having worked as a journalist for many, many years, I know that there's been times when, as a journalist, we have been asked to get a certain angle on a story that has not necessarily been there and to report on it. So all I can say is that what you're hearing in the mainstream news is not always correct. It's not always factual. And now, you know, thank goodness we have social media now, the last 15 years or so, we've had social media. And, you know, out of the 7.5 billion people on the planet, now around 3 billion people worldwide are active social media users. So what is happening now is that journalists are looking to social media every single day, looking for story ideas. So this is a very exciting opportunity for you, if you want to get your message out there, actually to be conscious about what you're putting out in your social media and on online news platforms. Okay, so we've got quite a bit to cover today, so we'll work through this. All right, now just imagine what would happen to you or your business if you were interviewed on Sunrise tomorrow. What do you think would happen? And feel free to share in the chat if you'd like to. What would happen, do you think? Or what if the Courier Mail or the Sydney Morning Herald did an article about you? Now, if you're in business, I presume you are, if you're a business owner smashing it online meeting tonight, I presume you're in business, but if if you're not in business and you want to share your personal story, or you want to, maybe you don't want to promote your business, you want to promote a charity or something else that you're passionate about, then the media is a fantastic way to leverage yourself and get the message out there. So what would happen, do you think, if you're in the Courier Mail or Sydney Morning Herald? Or what about if Oprah's office called you and asked if you could be available for a show? Now, when Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, when he appeared on Oprah, it was the 27th of April, 2000, 3 years after he put out Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he went on the show, and at the end of the 1 hour show, Oprah turned to Robert and said, "Congratulations, Rich Dad. We've just sold you 1 million books." Now, at the time, Robert was making $5 per book. So that's $5 million he made at the end of a 1 hour show. Such is the power of free publicity. Now, obviously not every media outlet is as big as Oprah. However, you can leverage yourself like nothing else when you get publicity. And of course, trust is a really big thing nowadays, particularly if you're working in the online space, to build trust with your audience. If someone's Googling someone in your industry that they want to work with, they're searching for someone and they find you with a whole lot of media outlets to your name, as opposed to someone else in your industry who hasn't got the media coverage, then who are they more likely to be wanting to work with? Someone who's got that credibility of having some media outlets to their name. Well, this is all possible for you. Now, I know that if you're in business particularly, that you will have overcome some challenges to be where you are today. And if you have had any hardship whatsoever, there will be a story there that the media will want. And in fact, your X factor is your story. It's very important to remember that. And you only need to know 10% more than someone else to teach something as well. So you don't actually need to know everything about your topic to be teaching it. Now, we are in unprecedented times, of course, and in these unprecedented times when so many people are going online, we've actually got content consumption up 60% during COVID-19. That was in Adweek recently. 60% up for content consumption. So now is a fantastic time to be actually getting free publicity, because the media outlets are all operating. A lot of journalists are now operating from home. However, the content still needs to keep getting out there, and all the mainstream media channels all have social media outlets, and they also have their websites, which they're sharing stories to now. So, the face of media is changing. It's just changing in the way that we're consuming media. We're consuming online and offline now. Now, I do have actually about 36 years media experience. I was interviewed by the media at the age of 10 for table tennis, believe it or not. And I was an elite junior table tennis player in Sydney, where I grew up in the Northern Beaches area. And I was actually quite an angry child because I was bullied as a kid, and I was very angry with the world, and I didn't really want to be here actually for many years. And thankfully I had table tennis as a release, and I could I had this killer forehand smash that I developed as a way to release my anger, because my dad always said anger is danger. And so I found a release through table tennis. And then I had my first TV presentation training at age 11. I was sponsored by the Junior Sports Foundation, MLC, which also sponsored Joanna Griggs, Jeff Hugel, people like that as well when I was growing up. And I was on Cartoon Connection at age 11 as well, on Channel 7. Then I went on and I did a media degree. I did TV production, photojournalism, became the longest serving editor of Curio, the university newspaper at Canberra University, where I did my media degree. And what I loved about that position there is that it really was very much freedom of speech. Whatever it was that I was angry about in the community, I would write about. And one of the very first stories I wrote was an anti-duck shooting story. I couldn't believe that people were shooting ducks for fun. I just couldn't believe it. And I heard about it, and it still happens to this day, I believe, in Victoria and parts of the world. And so I wrote a story about it, and the headline was "Go and Get Ducked." Right? It was very in-your-face kind of stories. And then I wrote a story about female circumcision. I couldn't believe that happened, and how horrific that was for women. And then I wrote a story about recycling and about how we can have a sustainable environment without so much trash, and stories like that. So whatever it was I was passionate about that I saw out in the community, I would write about. And then I did my first media training in 2000. I had repeated calls for more training as well. So I've really ramped that up in the last few years and been running a whole lot of events. Now, just in case you didn't believe the table tennis thing, there's the first story that came out in the Manly Daily. There I am at age 10 playing table tennis, and it feels like a whole lifetime ago now. I represented Australia for 6 years with table tennis. So I was very ambitious as a child and as a teenager. However, it was a rough road. I have European background, and I never really felt I belonged, which was interesting. And now I feel great. I've done a lot of work on myself, and even though I've had depression over the years, I've managed to pull myself through and been able to work through that. And I think anyone who's had any kind of high points in their life, we tend to look at balancing it out with low points. It's like the yin yang of life. Now I've since gone on, and I've been in the media many times myself and with my clients. This top photo here, this was on Channel 9. I started something called Animal Action Day in 2007. It was a world first event where it was raising awareness, appreciation and respect for animals. And I've raised money for different causes and millions of dollars worth of publicity for different causes over the years. And this top one, we're doing an interview about Sea Shepherd with Channel 9. And the angle we used actually in that story was that Sea Shepherd, it was costing them $50 million just in fuel alone to help save whales off Australia's coast. And the Japanese had said they were going to stop whaling, and they were still whaling. And then this bottom one, this is Herb Armstrong. This is in the ABC radio studio. Herb Armstrong is Louis Armstrong's grandson, and he performed at one of the Animal Action events. And in that interview at ABC radio, they actually threw a curveball question at us, which can happen to you if you're going to be in the media. You may get curveball questions. And at the time, they asked us, what do you think of the live burial of thousands of sheep that had just happened in Pakistan? And even though I didn't know the full story at the time, I just got very passionate. I said, I can't believe that's happened. Thousands of sheep were buried alive because they thought they were diseased in Pakistan. So that kind of thing can happen to you. You need to be aware of what is currently making news in your industry if you are going to be in the media. Now, I've since worked in all types of media. This is just some of them. I've done radio shows. So the strategies I'll show you today work for any media anywhere in the world. I've got clients all over the world that I have done PR for, and that I assist with their messaging. And it's the same principles whether you want to go out to newspapers, be on radio, magazines. There's so many opportunities there in the media for you. So these strategies work for any media. Now, I've had the great fortune too to interview a whole lot of stars as well in my time, and these are just some of the people I've interviewed. You might recognize some of the faces. Hugh Jackman, Cyndi Lauper, Debbie Harry there from Blondie, Russell Crowe, Jim Owen, Mikey Robbins and Paul McDermott. And there's a few things all these people have in common. Now, firstly, they were once the world's best kept secret. And right now, you may be feeling that way yourself. Do you feel like you're the world's best kept secret right now? And if you do, it's perfectly okay, because at one point, everyone was unknown, right? So all these people at one point, all the celebrities we see at one point were not known. And there's some other things that they have in common is that they're passionate about what they do. Now, if you think about yourself and what you're doing, are you passionate about what you do? To the point where if money wasn't an issue, would you be doing what you're doing right now? So once the world's best kept secret, passionate about what they do, they also had somebody else representing them in the media. Now, it always looks better if someone else is saying that you're amazing, as opposed to you saying you're amazing to the media. So they all had someone else representing them approaching the media. And the fourth thing they all have in common, and it's not taking cocaine. Someone said that to me at an event once. Actually, I don't know if they have cocaine, but we know drugs can be a problem with celebrities. The other thing that they all have in common is they have hardened themselves to criticism. And if you're going to be putting yourself out there, you need to be prepared that there's going to be people that aren't going to like what you say, right? I mean, it's the case anyway. There's people that love you and people that hate you. It's just when you put yourself out there, you're going to see it in the bigger extremes, right? You're going to see, there's going to be people that absolutely love you and people that absolutely hate you. I mean, let's just look at Donald Trump as an example, right? Now, there's people that hate that guy and there's people that love that guy. And it's the same with when you put yourself out there. You need to be prepared to stand in your truth no matter what comes your way. It's kind of like right now with COVID, we can't control right now what is happening out there with COVID. We can control how we respond to the situation. You can either live in fear around what's currently happening, or you can look at the opportunities come from a loving space, because there's plenty of opportunities right now. In fact, some of the wealthiest people out there were formed in the lowest times. So, now with the world of the online media, there is so much opportunity for you to get your message out there and to pivot in business and do things differently so that you can really make an impact. Now, nowadays, it's also the online media world. As I mentioned, there's podcasts, you can have your own online TV show. I have Media Queen TV on YouTube, and I also co-host Tech Webcast, which has had over 1 million downloads in the last 7 years. And I do that show with 3 guys who I've never met physically, personally. We've just always done this online. 2 of them are in Victoria and 1's in America. And that's the power of the online media world now, is that, you can be collaborating and JVing with people all over the world without even meeting them personally. It's amazing opportunities. Now let's look at advertising here. I'd love to know, if you're watching this, have you spent money on advertising before? If you have spent money on advertising, you will know that these are some of the costs that you might have had to pay. Now, this is for high rating TV shows. For a 30-second ad, it costs up to $25,000 for just one 30-second ad. And we know when people do advertising, they do multiple ads. They don't just do one ad. Radio, just one 60-second spot is about $500. Magazines, a full page color magazine ad, around $4,000 is what you're paying. And similar in America, it's just in US dollars or pounds, looking around the same kind of rates wherever you are in the world. Newspapers, for a full page ad in a newspaper, you're looking about $10,000 to pay for a full page ad. And whereas the wraparound ads you might have seen around newspapers, they go for $100,000 roughly. Yellow pages, full page ads for anyone still doing yellow pages, $30,000 plus. And then of course now there's digital advertising. And I know with a lot of people doing digital advertising, usually the people I survey with Facebook, usually only about 1 in 4 are actually getting great results from their Facebook advertising or their YouTube advertising. So again, you could be spending a whole lot of money, and of course the social media outlets keep changing their algorithms and they don't show your content to as many people. Although now I have heard that with COVID that generally ads have reduced in cost. But in saying that, I'm not teaching you how to do advertising here today, and I don't recommend you do paid advertising. With the strategies I'm showing you today, it's about how to get the free publicity, how to get the attention of the journalists, as opposed to paying for an ad with the advertising department. And there's several reasons why this is really important to utilize in your marketing mix. Why free publicity? Well, why would you want free publicity? From what you know, why would you want free publicity? I'll give you a few tips here. I'd love you to share with me why you would want free publicity in the chat. Now, first, it's worth 3 to 8 times more in value than advertising. So there's a lot of online sources that say this. So for the purposes of today, we'll just look at the value as, say, 5 times more to give it an even figure for the value of publicity versus advertising. It builds credibility and trust. Now, we know there's a lot of online and offline scammers out there. Trust, you want to build that trust. Publicity, having a media outlet to your name builds trust like nothing else I know of out there. Also, you'll have celebrity status as well, because you're going to be in media where other celebrities will be. So you'll automatically have that celebrity status as well. You can target your message to your ideal clients as well with publicity, and increase your traffic, leads, and sales. That naturally happens. And in fact, you know, Nick was sharing with me that he knows someone who ended up in the media and the website crashed, right, Nick? So, you know, this can happen. You need to make sure your back end is sorted out too, right? Which is why you'd see Nick to make sure the back end is sorted. So when you get the publicity, you can handle the leads as well coming in. Although in saying that, you don't need to wait until everything is perfect before starting your PR campaign, because, you know, there'll never be a point, most likely, where you're completely happy with every part of your business. So you just want to keep making forward progress in your business at all times. Okay, so that's a few reasons for why free publicity. You may have some different reasons yourself. Obviously, you can share your message, you can impact more people, you can inspire people with your message. The other thing is there's 22 times more views of stories versus ads. And if you think about how you consume media right now, if you're watching TV and an ad comes on, what do? Now, most likely I would say that you either switch the TV off, or you go make a cuppa, or you go to the bathroom. You just switch off with TV ads. And same with YouTube ads, same with, you know, online ads. You can see even on Facebook, everything's sponsored. You can see it's a paid ad. It's not given as much credence as something which is an organic post. Same with radio. Now, when there's ads on radio, what do? Do you switch off the radio? Do you change channels? And same with print media. When you're reading a newspaper or a magazine, are you looking through that media for the ads? No, you're not. Generally, you're looking at the stories, right? And most people would just skip the ads altogether. So 22 times more eyeballs on the stories versus the ads. Now, the media needs your story. Your X factor is your story. I repeat again, there is no one else out there who has exactly your story. Every single day, the media are looking for ideas for new stories. And in fact, when I was a journalist at the Gold Coast Bulletin, we had 2 editorial meetings every day. There was a 10 a.m. meeting and a 2 p.m. meeting every single day. And the editor would gather all the top journalists together and say, okay, what stories have you got for us today? And we'd have to come up with 3 new stories every single day, 6 days a week. Each of the journalists, mind you, so times that by 10. For, say, 10 journalists, 3 stories, that's 30 stories at least we'd have to come up with every single day that were of people in the local area doing great things. And it was really challenging sometimes. You know, while we would get hundreds of press releases that would come our way every day, a lot of them just ended up in the bin. You know, back then there was faxes, you know, a lot of them would just end up in the bin, and emails too. A lot of them just get binned because people often don't know what they're doing when they're pitching to media, and they pitch things that are too commercial. They pitch stories that are not relevant. You know, so you want to make sure that you don't burn your contacts, and you make sure that when you do approach the media, that you approach them in a way that you know what you're doing, which is why you're here today. So I applaud you for that. I congratulate you for being here to make some progress in this area. Now, the opportunity is absolutely huge in the media now. And also, as more people going online with their stories now, there's an increasing gap also that needs filling with traditional media. And they're really busy. So you can help journalists out by presenting a story in a way that is actually newsworthy and presenting it in a way that they're going to love, which I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. There's actually a 5-year burnout with journalists. So they are incredibly busy. They're under a lot of pressure. They do talk fast, as Nick said. I do talk quite fast. Hopefully you're keeping up with me. Please pop a yes in there in your chat if you are keeping up with me, and hopefully I'm not speaking too fast. You really need a sense of urgency when you're approaching the media. And I remember, one of the first positions I got as a journalist at the Daily Mercury in Mackay, I remember one of the senior journalists saying to me, Aldwyn, you need a sense of urgency about you when you're a reporter. And the thing is, with so many deadlines, it's a high adrenaline kind of position. And I think particularly now as the advertising has dropped off, I think as, media is changing form, there's less people doing more work. So the easier you make it for them, the more likely it is that you are going to get free publicity and get more publicity and have the journalists absolutely loving you and coming back to you for story ideas, as has happened with quite a few of my clients. Once the media get to know you, they will come back to you as that expert in the field. Because if you think right now, who is known as the #1 expert in your field right now? And if you know who that person is, I'd love for you to put in the chat, what is your industry and who is known as the #1 expert in your field? So for example, I think of personal development and I think of Anthony Robbins. I think of health, I think of Michelle Bridges. I think of finance, I think of Noel Whittaker. Well, why do I think of these people? Because all of them have had a lot of media exposure. And really, when you think about what they're saying versus what you would say in your industry, are they really saying anything that different to what you would say? Are they really that spectacular in their messaging that they deserve to be getting all that PR when you're not? Well, I would say no. I would say you also, if you're in business, you know what you're doing. And particularly if you've been in business more than 5 years, because 80% don't make the first 5 years, right? So if you are in business and been in business for a little while, then obviously you know what you're talking about. You know what you're doing. You need to really look at with your business, how are you helping the wider community with what you're doing? And that's what the media are going to be interested in. How do you help the wider population with what you do? And it needs to be not a commercial angle. So it needs to be something where you're helping the journalists and you're being helpful with your story. Okay, what are you passionate about? This is another great area to look at before you start your media campaign. What are you passionate about? So personally, I am really passionate about getting more good news stories out in the mass media. Personally, I have had depression, as I shared. I've had 4 friends actually take their own lives before the age of 45. And it's actually about 1 million people worldwide who take their own lives, are the stats at the moment, which is tragic. And I think really, if we get conscious to the messages that we are consuming and the messages that we're putting out in our social media, I think we can rapidly shift these statistics. And so my mission is to inspire people through more good news stories. And the good news is that lots of media outlets now have good news sections. We've got Huffington Post, we've got news.com.au, we've got MSN. There's a whole lot of media outlets, Good News Network. There's a Happy News channel, Happy News paper that in the UK that went viral. There's a lot of positive news outlets out there now where you can get positive stories out and you can inspire people with your message and make a bigger difference for the community and for your business in the process. So good news is something I'm really passionate about, and of course inspiring action for animals. So after years of seeing animal cruelty, I decided to do something about it, and I started the world's first Animal Action Day in 2007, done 13 annual events now with that, and with the Happy News, I actually started a Good News Day, a global Good News Day on the 8th of the 8th, 18 as well, inspiring more good news out there. So whatever it is you're passionate about, you can either create an event that you'll be able to get a lot of media coverage for by creating something, whether it's a day, a week, or create something special around that event, or align with a charity that's currently already doing great work in that area, because this is actually a fantastic way to get publicity, is aligning with a cause. So it is time to step up. Now, I am known as the media queen, and it's not just because people have trouble pronouncing Aldwyn Altuney. It is about stepping up. I'm really passionate about seeing people step up, and I love seeing people in the media and shining bright with their message, whether it's online or offline media. So it's time to step up. Are you ready? Here we go. Okay, 3 steps to publicity. First is your product. So what is it that you want to promote? You need to look at this carefully first. This is really the foundation for your PR campaign. You need to look at what product or service do you want to promote or sell. So you might want to brain dump. You might have a whole lot of products and services that you have in your business. What is it that you want to promote? And what's your story, or what's the story behind those products and services? So for example, with Stephen Esser, he's known as the webinar guy. I worked with him a few years ago. He went to other PR people, weren't able to get him any media coverage. And we sat down, we did a media consultation, just like I did with Nick the other day, that went for several hours. And we really dug into his story. And we found after that there were 3 great angles that we could approach the media with. Now, what he wanted to promote is he was doing a web business breakthrough event that was a free event helping offline businesses go online. It was a free event in Australia and New Zealand. So that's what he wanted to promote. Because it was a free event, it's not seen as commercial, and it had a date to it, which meant that it wouldn't be held over for ages in the media either. So having something with a date is really crucial. So that was one angle. He was doing free events across Australia and New Zealand, helping offline businesses go online. The other angle for him is that 5 years previously, he was a panel beater in the western suburbs of Sydney, and now 5 years later, he's a multi-millionaire. Well, how did he do that? So there's an interesting personal human interest story, which you may also have a great human interest story about how you've overcome some hardship, or how you started your business, or there might be a story behind something that you're promoting. Now, the third angle is that he created software to help automate webinars. So there was 3 different angles. That was now technology angle. 3 different angles that we had in our mind before we went to media with. Now, the media can be overwhelming, right? Now, if you're feeling at all that the media can be overwhelming, I totally get it, because there's a million different places you can go with your message, right? The thing is not to get overwhelmed about it, and do some target marketing with your media. So now this little image here on the right, you can see the little chirp chirp. This is a Tweety bird here. If you're on Twitter, you'll know these figures. And then this middle bird here, it's got a whole lot of hashtags, lols. It's like social media sometimes can feel like a whole other language, right? And then this little Tweety bird on the end is saying, what the fudge is going on, right? Sometimes you may feel like this. You may feel overwhelmed with it all. You might feel like you're time poor, and how the hell are you going to manage it all? Well, the beauty is with publicity, with actually getting into the media, you need to present your story as if you're reporting to a 14-year-old. So you need to keep your messaging very, very simple, so a 14-year-old can understand it. So that's good news for you. You don't need to know all these hashtags and jargon and all the social media stuff, right? You don't need to know that. Now, the next thing is, once you know your product, your service, what you want to promote, then you need to package it up. Now, I highly recommend that you have a press release. You can get publicity without a press release, but you increase your chances of the journalist getting the facts wrong. Okay, so if you want to increase your chances of them getting the facts right, because they're very busy people, and if they're interviewing you by phone, it's highly likely that they will get some facts wrong. So if you can present them with a press release that's clearly written, in fact, often if it's written well enough, they will just copy and paste the press release straight into the media. Then you need photos or visuals. Now, this is the same now, whether it's TV, radio, or print. You need to be thinking visuals. The more creative the visuals, the better the run you're going to get, okay? Because radio, they do their online stories, and same with TV. They share on their social media. They have their online sites where they have photos, right? So always think photos with all media. Photos, press release. So words, pictures, and the pitch. Now you've got 45 seconds to get your pitch across to a journalist when you're speaking to them. Okay, so the pitch is really crucial too. Press release, photos, pitch, package it up, and then you can target your message to the right media, okay, as I say. So wherever your ideal avatar is, your ideal client, you want to be targeting your message to that media. Here's some campaign idea joggers for you. You might want to write this down or take notes on this. The first thing you can do to come up with an angle for your PR is come up with a unique solution to something that's currently already in the marketplace. And of course, COVID's a great example of that, right? We've got a whole lot of media wanting to do COVID stories, different angles around COVID. So what sort of unique solution can you bring to what's currently already out in the mass media? Have you won any awards? If you've won some awards, the media love that as well. Controversy. Now, who likes controversy here? I certainly like a bit of controversy, and the media love to report on stories that get people talking. Okay, so controversy. Okay, for example, I mentioned vaccines. Now, vaccines are a very controversial issue. There's going to be people that love them and people that don't, right? You know, there's things like chemtrails, fluoride, you know, what else is good? Well, Donald Trump's very controversial, right? So controversy, what's controversial in your industry? What is happening right now that gets people talking in your industry? New statistics. What are some new statistics you can present on something in your industry? Australian Bureau of Statistics is a great place to go for that in Australia. Have some current commentary. So comment on something that's already in the news, which of course COVID is already all over the news, and journalists right now are clamoring for different angles around COVID. You know, how you're coping with COVID. Is your business doing well with COVID now? You know, how are you coping? Are you doing things differently? Have you started any new initiatives? These are all things the media are looking for right now. You could be the underdog in an issue. You could have a hero angle, zero to hero angle. Right? So that doesn't necessarily mean going from broke to multimillionaire. What hardship have you overcome and how did you overcome that? That could be your hero angle. A celebrity angle. You can align with a celebrity to support your cause, or align with a charity which has a celebrity that supports their cause. And of course, check with the charity if it's okay to use that celebrity endorsement. Celebrity is very powerful. And then picture opportunity. So you may have just an average story, but if you have a great picture, that's what we call a pick opportunity story. And that picture story, that can be very powerful to get free publicity if you have some really colorful, creative visuals. Okay, for example, now here's Dean Vegas. Some of you may know Dean Vegas. He ran for mayor a few years ago, and he's known as the world's best Elvis impersonator. And right now you can see the start of a press release I wrote for him. And then on the left is some visuals that work with the press release. So with your pictures, they need to be relevant to the press release. So we've got the very corporate looking Dean Vegas on the top, and we've got the Elvis Dean at the bottom, right? Very relatable images to this press release. Now, within a week of his mayoral campaign launch, this is what we put out. We said if he made it in as mayor, he was going to stop doing Elvis. Right now, this event, within a week, we had TV turn up, we had all the TV crews, we had radio, we had print, everyone turned up, the place was packed. He really gave it a great fight, and unfortunately he didn't actually make it in as mayor, but he has been booked solid as Elvis ever since. So there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? It's been amazing for his Elvis career, and you know, he's a great guy, Dean, and has an amazing life, and you know, good on him for stepping up and for being heard, you know, by running for mayor. It takes a lot of courage to do that. So that's an example there. Now, most recently I worked with a guy called Dr. Mir Janjua. He's actually currently in Canada, and this is a page 7 story that appeared in the Gold Coast Bulletin recently, and basically we put a press release out saying that the fear of COVID is making people sick. So as you can see, virus anxiety makes us sick. Now, the press release was so well written that Laura actually copied and pasted. She took chunks out of the press release and put it into this story. And she absolutely loved it because there was so much doom and gloom in the media. And as a journalist, she was like, oh, thank goodness, here's a story that we can actually put out that has some positivity to it. So, you know, so simple things and simple ways to boost your immune system, you know, such as getting some sunshine, vitamin D, you know, having fresh filtered water, doing deep breathing. You know, the deep box breathing, for example, if box breathing is in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. If you do that for 10 minutes a day, it's amazing how relaxed you will feel. In fact, why not take a deep breath right now? Always feels better to take a deep breath. We often don't do it enough. So simple strategies, ways to build your immune system is what we put out. And we had a heap of media within a week, actually. We had Channel 7. This is a photo that we got, and I highly recommend when you get your media coverage, make sure you get a photo. We did some live streaming interviews as well that day with Martin Renault here on the right from live video events. So we maximized our time together, got some media coverage, did some live stream interviews, Facebook Live as well. you know, cross promote on social media. And then this was on Channel 9, had a great coverage there as well. And then also we got that in radio as well. So it was on Gold FM or Triple M now. It was on Breeze FM, Rebel FM, etc. So the media absolutely loved that story. It was an alternate angle using current commentary to what was already out there, right? The second step to publicity is the platform. Where do you want to go? Now, I mentioned before about your avatar. So where do you want to go to? Which TV shows, which radio shows, which newspapers, which magazines? And I recommend having a hit list so you don't get overwhelmed with this, because there literally are thousands of media outlets. And it's easy to get overwhelmed when you're putting your media out there. But I suggest just start somewhere. And the very first place I would suggest to start, if you haven't had media coverage, just start with your local paper, because they're always looking for stories of local people doing great things. The next place I would go is to local community radio. Okay, so just start small and work your way up and build your confidence in coming across to the media. Now, talking of thousands of media outlets, these are the numbers just in Australia alone of how many media outlets there are with mainstream media. Okay, not to mention all the online media. Now, there's about there's 3 major TV stations, of course, 7, 9, 10, ABC, SBS, pay TV, free TV. There's about 30 channels on Foxtel, about 1 in 4 households actually access free TV. There's 30 Freeview channels, and of course now, you know, we've got Netflix, we've got Stan, we've got all these other TV shows out there on all this pay TV that's all looking for stories, all these places. Radio, look at this, 274 commercial, 341 community radio stations just in Australia alone. And of course, you know, newspapers, 470 regional and suburban papers in Australia alone, 37 regional dailies, and magazines, 1,600 magazines published in Australia. So no matter what your topic, no matter what area of expertise you have, no matter what your story, there will be a journalist right now looking for your story. And make sure, as I said, when you get the coverage, take photos and put it in your social media as well. You really want to leverage off that. If you want to go to newspapers, we've had lots of, now looking at the importance of picture stories, right? Having colourful visuals. These are some stories we have for the animal action events in the Sun newspapers. The one on the left there, we've got the rainbow hat. That was a fundraiser we did for the Animal Welfare League. We had a clown in there. Dean Vegas was performing. We had a front page here with some performers, some animals, because we're raising money for the animals. So you do need to think, how can I make the visuals, the photos relevant to whatever it is I'm talking about? This was some PR I did for the author of Almithia, which is a science fiction book series that came out of Hunter Valley. And we had Priscilla Presley supporting this, Hollywood star support, Gold Coast sci-fi author. Now, this actually went in the Northern edition, Southern edition, and the Central edition of the Sun newspapers, which actually has around, across the board, is about 120,000 copies that go out just in the Gold Coast region from Beenleigh to Tweed. And he times the readership by 3 to 4. So 120,000 times 3 to 4 is roughly 400,000, roughly, right? 350, 400,000 is the readership of this particular article. This is International Women's Day Festival. This is just this year. I worked with the International Women's Day Festival to celebrate their 25th anniversary. Another amazing spread. This went on page 3 right across all of the Sun newspapers. And we put this photo shoot together. You can see it's a colourful image. We've got 25, the balloons, the colourful tops. So yeah, want to think about how can you make your visuals as colourful as possible. And then targeting certain media. Now, this is Tu's company. Tracy Corman here runs an online dating agency. She wanted to target more business clients. So we put a story out in Queensland Business Acumen magazine saying Tu's company warns singles to be careful of shonky dating agencies. That was the angle we used. The story then went on to talk about all the charities that she supported, the number of weddings that have come out of her business, and then a lovely link to her website, which Nick will love this, of course. When you appear in the media, often you will get your website in there, or a link to maybe your Facebook group or page that can lead people back to your other funnels, right? So now if Tracy wanted to go, say, in Women's Weekly magazine, she could put out an angle such as 5 ways to find your soulmate. And that would still promote her business and give a different angle for different media. So you need to really think about that. What kind of angles can you have for different media where your ideal avatars are going to be consuming that media. Now, this is Alan Coulton. Now, he's in a company in Brisbane called Root Barriers. Now, I didn't know what a root barrier was when he first came to me, but I soon found out a root barrier is a huge plastic barrier that you put around the foundation of a house to stop the tree roots from coming under the house and cracking the foundation of the house, okay? So this is, you know, this is something where if he went to the media and said, I want to promote my root barriers, they would say, just take out an ad, right? So we had to look for the story behind the story. And here we said root barriers save trees and protect buildings. So we're looking at the environmental angle. Also at the time, the Al Gore film, An Inconvenient Truth, had just come out as well. And we were talking about global warming, etc. So lovely story here about how to protect the environment with a unique solution. This is a unique solution angle. And what happened is this story ended up as a 4-page spread in Australian Horticulture magazine to his ideal clients. Now, if he paid for advertising, it would have cost him $16,000 for the 4 pages of ads, right? Publicity value will times it by 5, as we said before. It's worth 3 to 8 times the value. That's $80,000 worth of publicity value. He can say forever, as seen in Australian Horticulture magazine now. And from this story, because he targeted his ideal clients, he had hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of business as a result of his ideal clients now seeing him as an expert in this field. So such is the power of actually targeting your media directly where your clients are going to see it. The third step to publicity is profit. How do you profit? Now, I did mention earlier, make sure you get your clippings, you get photos in with your media outlets. And of course, now there's social distancing, so it's going to be a bit more challenging to get those kind of photos. However, you can still promote different media online. You can tag to the media, tag to the journalists and thank them for the story. Now, with profit, well, the sky's the limit again. I mean, you never know who's going to be seeing your story. Now, this is Peter Turner. He was doing a film called 72 Hours, and literally one story in the local paper led to a $200,000 funding offer for his film. Now, in this particular case, we used the celebrity angle, and this was the story that appeared in the Gold Coast Bulletin. Now, this guy here, you may or may not know the face. He's a home and away star called Silvio Offrio. He's not even a huge star, right? But the fact is he was on the Gold Coast, he was in the studio, and here's a lovely positive story that was in the Gold Coast Bulletin, soap star awash with enthusiasm for coast crime drama dream. So that's what we call a celebrity angle. You don't even need a fantastic celebrity, but it helps, you know, it helps if you have a celebrity, and it was a great positive story. So $200,000 funding offer within 2 days of the story coming out. This is Justin Kelly. Now, he had free publicity for years. He was a health speaker, and he'd often have to do second events, and all he did was free publicity for years. He would pack his seminars out, and of course now we'll be doing a lot of webinars, right? We're not doing the physical events at the moment during COVID. However, online events are really taking off. This is a relationships and intimacy coach, Claire Flynn. She wanted to target more business clients as well. This one in Newland magazine, in a booming business section of the magazine. And the angle we put here is happy relationships lead to successful businesses. So she's tied in what she does with businesses and how they can have more successful businesses. Now, from this 2-page story, what happened was that someone saw it who asked her to speak at an event in front of 450 of her ideal clients. She had more inquiries and leads on a website. She went from making $1,000 to $2,000 a week in her business, had a very small business, and then she went on and doubled that again. And she was traveling the world 3 months of the year up until recently, of course, now with the lockdown. So she's had amazing success just from that one article. This is Paul Herman. He's taking on the banks. He's a property investor, and he's fighting bank fraud, and he's been on A Current Affair, Gold Coast Bulletin, ABC, 2GB. He's got a big online following now as well with what he's doing under some bank fraud titles. So he's bringing together people that feel that they have been ripped off by the banks, and he's taking them off. And he actually created a big publicity stunt once and arrested the ANZ Bank for fraud. So that was interesting. So he's done some really interesting publicity stunts, and good on him, you know, good on him for going out and taking on the banks. Now, Steve Essa, what happened with him? Now, he was actually voted the world's best speaker at the World Internet Summit with you might know Brett McFall and Tom Hua. They were huge events that were going years ago, and he was voted the best public speaker, but he'd never had any TV coverage before. And I did some media training with Steve, and we were told that we had 3 to 5 minutes to appear on Sky News Business TV with his story. And we did some training, and we actually ended up getting him a 6-minute spot. He had a 6-minute interview on Sky News Business TV. Now, if he was to pay for advertising, we mentioned earlier, the 30-second ad costs $25,000. A 6-minute ad, $300,000 if he paid for advertising for 6 minutes on TV. The PR value times it by 5, that's $1.5 million worth of free publicity from just one TV appearance. And he's an online marketer now who can say forever, as seen on TV. You only have to appear once, and you can use as seen on TV forever in your marketing. And that has been amazing for Stephen for his marketing. And even when he sends out, mail, actual physical mail, he has as seen on TV. He uses it all the time in his marketing. Now, I mentioned earlier also tag back to the different outlets. Local Tag Australia is another company I worked with, Pete Nichols. Some of you might know him. And we talked about customer service, and that was actually in the lead up to the Commonwealth Games. And we were talking about customer service on the Gold Coast, and that had a huge coverage in the Gold Coast Bulletin, also on several radio stations, 107.3, etc. So make sure you get those clippings, tag back to the outlets with your social media, and celebrate and watch how your credibility and cash flow grows. Okay, there's a whole lot of PR distribution sites too where you can get your message out. Now, Nick mentioned e-zine articles earlier. That's a great place. You can put your press releases when you do them, put them up on e-zine articles so that others can share it as well. With some of these, they charge per email or they charge for the lists, etc. So I don't have time to go into all of that today. But what I do recommend that you do is that you get onto SourceBottle. It's a fantastic place that you can connect with journalists and bloggers directly that are calling out for opportunities. They're looking for media opportunities, and you can list yourself as a source, and you can go looking for ideas. And actually, just recently I appeared on Yahoo Finance through SourceBottle, and I spoke about what it's like as a landlord currently with the COVID crisis happening. So they wanted to know about how a landlord's coping and what are the banks doing. And I was actually on the phone with the bank for 3 hours actually to discuss my loan with them the other day, and that was interesting in itself, that in the current time so many people are trying to get onto the banks, and there was another lady also that was 3 hours on hold. And so yes, there's all sorts of opportunities there. Now we're wrapping up shortly, just coming towards the end of the presentation. Now, Michelle Patterson, she was a women's empowerment coach on the Gold Coast. She came to me, wanted to promote her events. So we put a press release out saying Coach empowers women who underwent forced adoptions. And we tied it in with National Adoption Awareness Week. We had a date to point to. We mentioned some stats there about, 250,000 women were forced to adopt their babies out against their will in the 1950s. Of course, the Love Child series was happening as well on the TV. And to put this out, we had a little bit of interest from this, and then we changed it just slightly to this press release here. Mother opens up on secret forced adoption after 30 years. Right, still press release is still pretty much the same, but we've just changed the angle, just slightly tweaked it, and we got inundated with requests for this story. And I, as her PR agent, ended up negotiating with Women's Day magazine. We did an exclusive story. They paid thousands of dollars for the story, and this is what happened. So this is some behind the scenes photos, of course, that were embargoed until the actual Women's Day article came out. So they sent a hair and makeup person to her unit in Labrador. This is a photographer here that came up from Women's Day in Sydney. And these are all the behind the scenes photos. These photos here, having confidence also when you're going to media is really important. And building that confidence over time. Here we go, behind the scenes photos, which of course you can use for your marketing. So make sure you get these kind of behind the scenes photos as well. And this is the story, 2-page spread. It was mentioned on the front cover as well. Now, if Michelle was to pay for 2 pages of ads in Women's Day, which no one would have seen anyway or really noticed, 2 pages of ads would have cost her $60,000. Publicity value $300,000, times it by 5. 1.6 million readers saw this story. And what the beauty of this story is that on the second column here, it actually had her whole website was listed for her business. So while she shared her own personal story, her website was listed in there, and now people can go and find her business and do business with her, right? So amazingly powerful. Sits as only in Women's Day there. And here again, here's the power you can see of good photos. The good photos will get a good run. You can see the photos that their photographer took, the left and the right one. They've got nice big run in the magazine. The little photos that were supplied from Michelle's past, because they weren't very good quality, they had a very small run. And now same with Couric. Now I actually did this photo of Couric Ashley. He's a success coach on the Sunshine Coast, worked with Anthony Robbins. And his story was he went from broke to multi-millionaire. He was $20 away from being broke in 2 countries, and went to multi-millionaire. And how did he do it? Now, interestingly with this story, this was in Excel magazine. And this actually ran as a 4-page spread. But Couric always wanted to be on Oprah. And this story actually got held over from 1 month to the next month. And would you believe that on the cover of the magazine was Oprah? Can you believe the power of having Oprah? She now has in her hot little hands a 4-page spread on a Sunshine Coast success coach that's in the same magazine as Oprah. So that's absolutely so powerful for celebrity branding. Now, publicity value, $80,000 worth of free publicity. $16,000 would have cost him for ad space. This went out to 25 countries, this magazine. And again, the importance of good photos. Now, this one on the left, I actually took of Couric. And the 2 photos in the middle, there you can see with Chuck Norris. He used to be a stunt guy in Hollywood, with Chuck Norris and John Travolta. But because, even though they're celebrities, because they're not very good quality photos, they get a small run. So again, the power of having good visuals, really important. All right, so the world really is your oyster, and now I do have a special offer here today. I can talk a lot about this topic, and in fact, I do talk a lot about this topic, and I actually run workshops. So if it's okay with you, I'd just like to share a very special offer with you today that will be very quick. All right, I've got some, thank you. I've got some workshops coming up. They're going to be on Zoom, because these were meant to be in Brisbane and Gold Coast, but of course now with the lockdown, they are going to be on Zoom. 28th of April and the 7th of May, I'm going to be going into a lot more detail into how to write press release, the exact format. We're going to be looking at your personal angles as well in this workshop. It'll be very interactive, 9:30 till 1:30 p.m. On Zoom on the 28th of April and also on the 7th of May. And the special offer here is it's $47 for 1 ticket, or 2 tickets for $84 plus booking fee. And you get a free inspiring ebook, which I've never offered anywhere. And I've got the books here in my hand. I don't know if you can actually see these, but anyway, I've got 3 books that I actually have a whole chapter on how to get free publicity. Hopefully you can see that. I've got Elevate Your Mindset there, Think Big with Arnold Schwarzenegger as well. These are compilation books with a whole lot of inspiring stories by different business people right across Australia, and this is Visions of Success. So a free ebook of your choice of those 3, which has, as I say, a whole chapter outlining my 5 power steps to getting free publicity. And if you just go to Eventbrite and you look up my name, you will see a list of all my upcoming events there. But you will need to message me to get the ebook and say that you were on this a meeting with Nick, so that you get the ebook, and then I'll send the ebook out to you of your choice. So again, you've got Visions of Success, Elevate Your Mindset, and Think Big, and that's where you can find it. And this is my final slide, and this is really what I wish for you: to shine bright. I believe in the power of one, and I believe in you. May your flame burn bright and light up all those around you. You are extraordinary. You're 1 in a billion just by being born. And if you feel the time is right for you now to step up and share your message and inspire people around you, then I would love to help you with that journey. And if you don't work with me, I would still love to see you in the media regardless. So here's to your media success. And thank you so much, Nick, for having me on. And if there's any questions now, we'll go to that. I'll stop sharing my screen. Thank you very much. Okay.
Excellent. Oh, thanks very much, Aldwyn. There's once again, I've picked up some even more tips from here. I've heard the presentation before, but there's stuff in there that I thought, I missed that the first time round, so that was really good. Yeah, so any questions, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask away.
Fantastic. I'll have a look through the chat as well. Thank you, Nick. You never learn less, right? You never learn less. I've been an avid learner for years. I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into courses. You never learn less. So that's fantastic that you, Nick, and I know how knowledgeable you are, that you've picked up some new things from today. That's awesome.
And there was a question there from Martin. I'm not sure whether it's guided here, but about hashtags.
Yeah,
Yes.
sorry about that. I was just trying to find the bloody unmute button. I get all nervous and I just did it. No, about hashtags. I've been having a bit of a battle these last couple of days, and I know this is more social media, except and not mainstream media. So excuse me for this question, but I've done a few tests because I was speaking to someone that I know that's in the United States, and they're saying you should only use hashtags which are sort of relevant for your business, which, yes, obviously, but don't misuse hashtags that, aren't. I'm in the cycling business, so there's a heap of cycling hashtags that you can use, but they're not necessarily completely relevant for my business, but it's in that industry, so to speak. And I also do shout outs to people, like the people who've been my ambassadors, who have my clothes, like all around the world, for example. And this guy was saying, well, don't do it, because if you put too many in or whatever, it sort of makes your posts like not very relevant anymore, right? I always thought that hashtags, basically, it turned up on other posts and other people saw it and it expanded your reach, but evidently that's not so true. Well, anyway, the last few days I've been posting and only having very minimal hashtags and only a very relevant hashtag. And I'm not getting anywhere near the likes that I was getting previously, like not the reach or the exposure that I had before. So do you have an answer for that? Or do you have any sort of reasoning behind that?
Yes, great question, Martin. And I think you've just answered your own question as well. And someone wants to speak to you now about it. Yeah, look, there are different opinions on the hashtags out there. With Instagram, you can have a maximum of 30 hashtags. And, 30 may be just a little bit too much. Although in saying that, I do a whole lot of Media Queen shares inspiration, shares wisdom, shares animal facts, shares marketing tips. I do a whole lot of these images, and I actually do use very popular hashtags such as hashtag art when I'm doing the art ones, or hashtag inspirational wisdom. I will generally personally look for the hashtags where it is getting a lot of searches, because you're more likely to reach more people. Although in saying that, in Facebook, apparently the maximum number of hashtags that they tend to like in Facebook is generally about 5, right? So some people will say, stick to less hashtags and make them more relevant. But still, I would say in cycling, if cycling is a highly searched term, then I would definitely use cycling or cyclists or...
I do that, and cycling wear, cycling kit, cycling clothes, da-da-da-da-da-da. I don't use 30. I think that's too much anyway. I think it's too saturated. Probably maybe a dozen or something like that, which are around the clothes or around the sport. Yep. But as I said, I mean, the last few posts I've done don't get anywhere near the amount of sort of reach or the likes. I mean, you can look at the insights and you can see how far it's gone. And so the likes I'm getting are more my own community now, rather than people coming in from other places.
Right. Well, if your intention is to grow it and reach more people, then you need to give people what they're looking for, I would suggest. So I would be looking for those higher search terms and adding them. Nick might have an opinion on this too. Nick?
Yeah, I was just going to say that it is a topic that it's not really my area of expertise. I've got a sort of a general knowledge on it, but we've got a couple of social media speakers that will come on that really understand that whole world of sort of how to use hashtags and how to do that sort of more effectively. And particularly for Instagram, there's a strategy in there with Instagram that really does work. And I'm by no means a master of that there. I sort of know how it works. I just am not really engaged in it. So we'll have someone on that will talk specifically about that topic there, and hopefully that it will actually bring some clarity around it, because it does change quite a lot.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So I tend to nowadays, I mean, I was doing a lot with 30 hashtags. I think it is too much as well. So I think it is it's a bit of trial and error, or trial and terror, as they say in business sometimes. So
I like to keep them consistent as well throughout my posts. I don't like to change them around. I keep them in my notes, and so I copy and paste them each time,
right.
and stuff like that as well, to keep a consistent sort of a message. So it's not random. I used to do it really randomly. But I've sort of come across, and I sort of add and subtract ones here and there that I think are good and whatever, but try and keep to that sort of dozen. But
yeah.
Well, look, I'm just aware time's running away, and I guess some people are looking starved there at the moment. So, so what we'll do is we'll wrap up. We'll keep the session open at the end of it, and and we'll just sort of close up this section here. So first thing to do is we do have our lucky door prize draw, and we've got a nice little way of doing it. So Aldwyn, you've got a lucky door prize, haven't you?
Yes, I do. I actually have a ticket to my workshop. Who would like to win that?
That'll be me.
Yay. Okay, excellent. You put your hands up. Fantastic. Okay, ticket to the workshop. So do I just close my eyes and say stop? Is that the outcome?
No, this one here is, this is an app called the wheelofnames.com. So if you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool. So we just enter in all the names on the right hand side, and then we just go and click the button in the middle, and it spins it. It makes a noise.
Great.
And the winner is Dave Kane. So aren't you glad you came?
Congratulations.
Excellent. So so Aldwyn will be in touch on.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm going to be talking to her tomorrow. So
fantastic.
Awesome, Dave. Well, that's perfect.
well, that's what we put in the private message. Remember?
Yeah, he said, "Do you want a quickie?" And I said, "What do you mean?" Anyway, it was a quick chat.
No, you still missed it. Anyway.
Yeah. All right, and one other prize is having talked about membership sites and learning sites and that sort of thing. I'm offering up a 1 hour sort of consult on your web strategy, which we do by Zoom. Transcribe it and send it through to you, so you've got a checklist to act on. So anyone want that?
Yay!
No? Okay, yes. All right. And the winner is Linda Smithhurst.
Yay! Congratulations,
Awesome.
Linda.
Excellent. So we'll be in touch on Messenger, or shoot me a message as well, and my VAs will be in touch with you about that. That's the session we normally sell out at $5.97, but anyone that wants that as well for this session here, we're happy to do it for $97. And I'm just going to try and get you the link to go and get it, if it's going to work for us now. Okay, let me just try sharing my other screen. Back to the presentation, and here we go. So if that's something that you do want, then just go to posbiz.in/strategy. And there's a little coupon code there, Zoom, ZOOM. Just pop that in, and it'll drop the price from $5.97 down to $97. All right, so that's it for tonight. Thanks everyone for turning up, and thanks Aldwyn for all of the information that you've given us and spending the time with us tonight.
Thank you. And I've just put the link to the to Eventbrite there, and just Mass Media Tribe is the group on Facebook that has all the events listed as well.
Perfect. So excellent. So I've been to one of those, so well worth going to. Next event is next Tuesday. So same place, same lounge room, same TV, and I didn't put the time or the date in. I was obviously a bit quick on that, but it's Tuesday, whatever next week is. What's that, 28th? At 6 o'clock, and if you want to register now, it's if you just go to posbiz.in/Bosio, you can register there. So it's on Zoom. So that's it for tonight. Thanks everyone for coming along and sharing the evening with us. And we will see you next week. We'll see you online, and hopefully we'll see you in the news. See you later.
Thanks, everyone.